sometimes in life, like when we're going after goals, it's very self-serving and we can feel like something's missing. Even if we have the happiest journey to the goal, like we can always feel like something is missing once we get there. When you play a role in other people's stories and in other people's journeys and how they get to where they want to be in life, that gives you meaning. It goes beyond purpose and goals that serve you well, and it's talking about doing something that serves others well.
And at the end of your life, what do you want your life to have represented?
What would it mean to me to leave a life of legacy behind? There was one thing that we were talking about, like when we're going through like goal setting, and like we can't underestimate like the importance of goals, right? That gives us purpose in life. But I recently watched a TED Talk. It's by Dr. Brian Lowry, and it's called How to Live a Meaningful Life. Yeah. And so speaking of coaches and like how amazing they are in helping you to achieve your goals, I personally know someone, her name is Sandra Saltibus. She has like Sandra Saltibus Coaching, and like I know her. She's not my coach, but like I feel like she is my coach. But she shared that TED Talk with me, and he talks about how like sometimes life can feel empty if we're constantly going after goals, and goals give us purpose, but it's about meaning and significance. And so he talked about how sometimes in life, like when we're going after goals, it's very self-serving and we can feel like something's missing. Even if we have the happiest journey to the goal, like we can always feel like something is missing once we get there. And it's about creating a life of meaning. And I am a huge fan of one of Dave Chappelle's specials. It's called Dreamers. And in the very end, he talks about playing a role and being a part of other people's stories. And in that TED Talk, Dr. Lowry did the same thing. When you play a role in other people's stories and in other people's journeys and how they get to where they want to be in life, that gives you meaning. It goes beyond purpose and goals that serve you well. And it's talking about doing something that serves others well. There's a sense of altruism there, maybe. But it's like, of course, it feels good to help other people, but it's about creating meaning in your life beyond just yourself. And I think that when we're working towards our goals, if we can understand how we can use those personal achievements and accomplishments to help to serve others well, I think it makes our life a lot more meaningful for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that, because I think we've talked about tools and structure and putting it in place. It can start to feel really regimented and start to feel like a lot if you overdo it. So I like that you mentioned that, because it's important to keep it in perspective and keep it in balance and keep the feeling and the meaning behind it, right? To keep that perspective. It's because you don't want it to feel so like such a chore. You mentioned that earlier, I think, for something. You don't want it to feel like such a chore that you really don't enjoy it and don't want to do it anymore, and then you give up on your goal. So you do want some structure and some best practices, but if it starts to feel just like a job and you don't enjoy it, maybe you're overdoing it and got too much of that in there. But that starts with, like we talked about before, with having a vision. And you talked about reverse engineering, right? So one thing that I like to have people do is think about the end of their life. Like, this is life legacy, right? And you kind of set me up for this, but to think about like, what is the life that you want to create? And at the end of your life, what do you want your life to have represented, right? Who do you want to have impacted? How do you want to have impacted people? And how do you want to be remembered? And then that goes to the meaning. And then from there, you reverse engineer and say, okay, if that's where I want to end up, what do I put in place to get there now? And how can I begin to live that right now where I am today, right?
Yep. And I think that's kind of helped me. Like, let's say someone has been on this journey and it was an unhappy one and they accomplished something. That doesn't mean that's the end. You can still turn that journey that was probably less than pleasant for you into a happy outcome. And like for me, taking my example about graduating, like I was super depressed and I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do with this? I had to create meaning. And so for me, it was, okay, well, I didn't have the happiest journey getting here. That doesn't mean it was all for naught. So like for me, creating meaning was, I get to touch the lives of 20 to 50 students every term.
Yeah.
And I teach in the wellness space, interdisciplinary studies. So like I get to touch the lives of roughly, 50 students each term and instill some values and some knowledge and beliefs into them that change their lives and how they interact with others, which then has a downstream domino effect. And so, like, that's how I get meaning out of this personal accomplishment. So, whether your journey is a happy or an unhappy one, you can always create deeper meaning for your purpose and your goals by figuring out, well, how can I use this to serve others well?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So if you just gave a kind of a window, a little bit hint of how you create meaning or focus on meaning in your life. If you helicopter up and just said in general, for your life, what legacy means to you, or what it would mean to you to leave a life of legacy behind,
Yeah.
what would you say to that?
What would it mean to me to leave a life of legacy behind? Um, I truly believe in leading by example. So a part of leaving a legacy is, how do I live my life, and how does that inform others and what it looks like to live a happy and a healthy and a whole life. I'm a huge fan of humanistic psychology. Like when you think about like Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that self-actualization at the top. Like, did I live my life in a way to where I was able to feel like I actualize not just my goals, but my every aspect of what I want to be in this life as a person, a human being?
Mm-hmm.
And did I set a positive example for those in my life to where they were able to glean the good from what I did and use it in a way to improve their condition? And by improving their condition, they're improving the condition of others in their lives because they're also leading by example in some ways. Did I embody that self-awareness to be able to know when I was doing something to the best of my ability and when I wasn't? And when I wasn't doing something to the best of my ability, how did that impact others? And then what did I do about that knowledge to, again, going back to improving my condition and the ways in which I interact with others? And then also having powerful conversations, not just with myself, but with other people. There's this quote, I think it's by Stephen Grillet. It's in my email signature. I want to make sure I say it right, but I can't. Okay, so I shall pass this way but once. Any good that I can do or any kindness I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. I live by that quote. And so for me, like, that's the legacy I want to leave behind. The way in which I treat others, I think the way in which we all treat others, it impacts not just ourselves, but it impacts the people we're interacting with, and then how they choose to internalize and to engage with other people. So I think that's kind of like that in a nutshell.
That's really, really powerful.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the clarity you have around that. And I can tell you've thought about it. And sometimes it's a journey to figure out what that is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like what would represent a meaningful life for us takes time and thought, life experience. And sometimes we don't know, but that's okay. Just
Yeah.
to come back to it and think about it.
My favorite thing is on my wall. I will hold myself to a standard of grace, not perfection. Because I think that's the most amazing way to live life. Um, it's I look, I'm about to go off on another tangent, but I won't. But like, I was reading this book, and there was something in it about like it was about like being a good parent to children.
Yeah.
But I feel like the things that she said like could be used in any aspect of life, and it was about choosing empathy over disappointment, love over anger, something we talked about, self-efficacy over fixing blame, and problem solving over punishment. That's in Tamara's Your Brain's Not Broken. But like, I feel like if we operate in life in a way to where we're not harsh on ourselves or on, each other, I feel like it just, I don't know, like this, it'll be a much happier journey for all of us in this world. Grace and kindness and curiosity over harshness and criticism and, blame and anger and punishment. If we just realize we're all human beings having very human experiences and no one's perfect, and just giving people grace to be human, I think it makes a world of difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Well, you've shared a wealth of knowledge with us today. And I'm very, very grateful for everything you've been able to impart to the listeners today. So thank you for being willing to come on and share all your expertise and your life experiences. So as we close out, I want to ask you, like, if you have an embodying message after everything we've talked about, right, that you'd like to impart to those listening, what would that message be?
Whew. I'm a huge person when it comes to thought work. I feel like we have a lot more control over our outcomes in life than we give ourselves credit for. So I think at the core of powerful conversations with ourselves is a degree of self-awareness. If I had to say one thing and just drop the mic, which this is not a drop the mic moment, but I hope that this is impactful, but it's self-awareness. We've learned to ignore our bodies and the things that our bodies are telling us that we need to do. We need to reconnect with ourselves. Like, your body is your vessel in this lifetime. Treat it well, listen to it, engage with it, learn from it, and use all that wisdom that your body has to live a healthier and more fuller life. And when we are more self-aware, that sets the stage for an abundance of possibilities and opportunities. When we're self-aware and we're listening to our bodies, we can then figure out what do we need to do in different areas of our lives. And it all starts with awareness. If we're on autopilot and just going through life, we need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and check in with ourselves and really figure out what it is that we want, what it is that we're after, and then figure out how to get there. Pulling on all of our resources, whether it's a coach, a therapist, a friend, whatever it is, pulling on those resources that you need to live the life that you want to live, and then putting a plan and systems in place to get you there. And then making sure, like we talk about, there's no happy ending to an unhappy journey. So like making sure that you are, again, this is checking in with the feelings and making sure that you are aware of what's going on inside of you throughout that process, because self-awareness, I think that's the core of success.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for everything. I'm so grateful once again for you being a guest today. If people want to find you, where can they locate you? You on social media?
Absolutely not. No. I know, right? I have LinkedIn. I have my LinkedIn profile. That's it. I'm not on social media at all.
No.
Yeah, I was at one point in time, but I was just like, again, letting go of things that do or don't serve you well. I just felt like it was one of those things that didn't serve me well. So LinkedIn, that's it.
All right. So LinkedIn, that's it for now. We're going to talk about that social media presence. Dr. Denson, been a pleasure. Thanks again. And look forward to having you again. Hopefully you'll come back.
Likewise, Jonathan. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Anytime.